Goalie controversy. Already. Seems like every single year we have this conversation. There's a goalie controversy in Toronto, whether it was back with Frederik Andersen and Jack Campbell, whether it was Jack Campbell and Peter Mrazek, whether it was Ilya Samsonov and Matt Murray. That was controversial. And now it's Ilya Samsonov and Joseph Woll. But for the first time in a while, it seems like the controversy is coming out of a positive for the most part, because while Ilya Samsonov, the projected starter for the Toronto Maple Leafs, has struggled out of the gate, and I mean struggled for the Toronto Maple Leafs, Joseph Woll is a surprise story that I think everyone can hop on board for. 7 games into this NHL season, that's it. And yet Joseph Woll seems like he's already solidified himself as the number one, the go-to guy moving forward for the Toronto Maple Leafs until proven otherwise. Now, let me clarify. Ilya Samsonov, in my opinion, is a better goalie than what we've seen so far. And he has been getting results. The team has been supporting him with some goal support, and he's gotten a few wins under his belt. But he was pulled in a game against Tampa Bay after surrendering 3 goals in the first period. A game that the Leafs probably had no business coming back in, and that's when Joseph Woll stepped in and saved the day, shut the door, no goals allowed, allowing the Toronto Maple Leafs to come back and win that game in overtime 4-3. And since then, he's just been the man. I've got the numbers in front of me here. In just 3 games, including that game in relief, a .961 save percentage to start this season. Just unbelievable, if you ask me. And can we project that that's what his numbers are going to be moving forward? I don't think that would be a fair assessment. But we've seen now that this guy is the real deal. He's an NHL goaltender, if not an NHL starter. And we saw that at a glimpse last year at the end of the regular season when Matt Murray and Ilya Samsonov both had turns being on IR. And then he steps in the playoffs in the most intense time of the year where you rely on your goaltenders very heavily, and he did his job just fine. So coming into this season, we knew he was capable to an extent, but to what extent would that be? Well, a .961 is a big enough sample size for me in 3 games to show that this kid is ready for at least splitting the net with Ilya Samsonov even throughout the season, if not taking it over and controlling it himself. Now, Sheldon Keefe has already come out and said that Ilya Samsonov will be starting the next game in Nashville. And I wonder if he's maybe regretting that statement because he wants to roll Joseph Woll for as long as he can while he's on this hot streak. But I think that statement was more so in the fact of trying to support Samsonov publicly, letting everybody know that, yeah, Joseph Woll is our guy for tonight, but Samsonov will be taking the net back over in the near future. But if Samsonov comes out and does not perform to the standard, if the Leafs don't get a win in that game, and to be fair, if they have some, difficulty scoring goals and it's not on Samsonov, then that's a different story. But if it's a game where Samsonov needs to stop the puck and isn't able to do so and they don't get a win, I don't see any reason why this team shouldn't go back to Joseph Woll, not just the next game, but for the next few. Now, I am a supporter as well of, players' mental state. I think that even at the professional level, your mentality and your confidence can go so far for a player. And Ilya Samsonov seems like one of those guys genuinely that is maybe a little bit more emotional. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but perhaps his confidence is what really carries his play. And right now, he's definitely not a confident goaltender. So making him a backup to Joseph Woll, a young kid that we didn't really expect to be the starter this season, who knows what kind of impact that could have on Ilya Samsonov. Now, I think this is also posing a positive story for the future. I mean, again, we're only 7 games in and Joseph Woll has only played in 3 of them. So I'm not trying to get ahead of myself here, but if Joseph Woll can really take this season and solidify himself as the starting goaltender for the Toronto Maple Leafs, I think that poses a really good scenario for next year. Ilya Samsonov got qualified as a restricted free agent to come back on a 1-year contract, but if he's not playing well and Joseph Woll is, we could have Joseph Woll as our starter for next season at an entry-level contract, move on from Ilya Samsonov, or maybe negotiate him into a lower number than he's at right now, or go and get a veteran backup goaltender who can take just a portion of the games for next season and provide a little bit of depth. But again, that's a story that we'll probably dive into at the end of this season when we've seen a larger body of work. But for the time being, there's no question to me, Joseph Woll is the guy. He's the guy you need to go back to after Nashville. I think he deserves a fair shot at getting a few starts in a row. He just came off back-to-back starts and did incredibly on the road with a team that I think the Toronto Maple Leafs looked like they were exhausted against the Dallas Stars. Their legs just weren't able to move. They looked a little sloppy at times. They got definitely outplayed in the second and third period and still came out with the win, only giving up one goal in large part due to Joseph Woll. So this guy deserves a shot at, seeing what we can do at an extended stretch with him in the net. Again, it's a tricky situation, more so just because of the Ilya Samsonov perspective. What do you do to help get him back up to the level he can be at? Because we know from last year's sample, he's a better goaltender than what we've seen so far this year. I think he will bounce back. I think Joseph Woll will regress. It's just natural in this season. But what do you guys think? Who do you play for the near future? What do you do with Ilya Samsonov? Again, we already know Sheldon Keefe already told us before the Dallas game that he's already starting in Nashville. So we know Samsonov's coming up here. We got to be able to see what he can do, and then we'll have a better idea of an assessment when we return back to Toronto for a little bit of a home stretch. But we'll see. Let me know your thoughts. Who's your goaltender? And also worth noting, I don't do this often, but I'm one subscriber away from 450. So if you do like this content, please click like, click subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.